things that I want you guys to pay attention to. This one is pretty tricky, these first two. So just as I am explaining this, like, listen to the words that I'm saying. Don't just write down these numbers, but I'm going to, like, say why I'm doing certain things. But the key is to, like, break the shape up into other pieces. Like, for example, this one right here is already broken up for you. It won't always be broken up like that, okay? But I broke it up into 2 rectangles. This whole thing is 10, but we need to figure out, like, what the other sides are, like, or what they are separately. Which, in this case, these two are the same. So this length and this length, if you add them together, they're going to be 10, because this whole piece is 10. All of the vertical, it's like vertically 10 units tall. So yeah, like each one of these are going to be 5. How did I know that? Because that little marking shows that they are the same as each other. Okay? All right, and then once you have that, you have the, like, the 2 sides of the shape. These are rectangles. So we can do 2 times 5, and that equals 10. So the area of this shape is 10. Area equals 10. The area for this shape is 5 times 10, so 50. And then you're just simply going to add them together. So 10 plus 50 equals 60. And that's your answer for this one. So this one says A equals, but it looks kind of not good. So I'm going to rewrite it. We're going to say A equals 10. All right, and then this one. What 2 shapes? Okay, so over here, I'm going to write triangle plus rectangle. And we want to solve for the area of each one of those. Triangle plus rectangle. So I need to focus this. It's much better. All right, this one is tricky. So we need, so triangle is 1/2 base times height. Rectangle is just base times height. And we need to add those together. But they are different shapes. So my triangle, or let's just do the rectangle first because it's the easiest. The rectangle is base times height, so this is just 5 times 4. Yeah, so the area of this one is 20. That hopefully is fairly easy. This side is 20. The rectangle is 20. Hopefully we see that. The problem is this one right here, and it just throws everybody off, but it's like ultimately it's not all that crazy. All right, we know this is a rectangle, so this side is 4, this side is also 4, right? So what we need to do is we need to figure out the entire, what's the length of that base there? So yeah, because it's 2 plus 4, so the base equals 2 plus 4 plus 2. So I'm going to put the triangle base, or if that, you know, makes sense, write it like that. So that's going to be 8. 8 units, so 1/2 times 8. And then our height also throws people off because it's just how tall is that triangle. Things that we know, this entire arrow-looking shape is 7 units tall. We need to then subtract the height of that rectangle. So for the triangle height, we take the entire height of that thing, subtract the height of the rectangle, and you get 2, which is the height of that triangle. So you just need to look at the shape as a whole and take away this piece right here. All right, so you see like where everything came from. This is 8, this is 2, because 7 minus 5 is 2. All right, there's a few different ways you can do this. You can do 8 times 2 divided by 2, and that's 16. You can cut that in half. 4 times, it's 8. Because 16 divided by 2 is 8. Or cut the 8 in half. Basically, you just type the whole thing in the calculator, and it will give you 8. Because the 2 and the 1/2 will cancel out, and what's left over is 8. And then your final step is to add them together. You get 28. All right, let us move on to the next one. So for this one, things that you have, here's how I would suggest to solve this. If you guys look at this, do y'all see like semicircle and triangle and then trapezoid? That is a shape, but I don't think that's the easiest way to solve this. What I think the easiest way to solve this is to see this as a semicircle or half a circle plus a parallelogram. Okay, semicircle plus parallelogram. Okay, things that we should know about parallelograms. And you, like, I pulled this straight from Delta Math, so you might see a problem like this today. Here is 26. This side is also going to be 26. This side is 8. This side is also 8, because it's just like a rectangle. Like, this opposite sides are the same. So for a parallelogram, well, for a semicircle, I guess we'll write that first. Here's the formula: 1/2 pi r squared. All right. For a parallelogram, it's going to be base times height. So, and this is at a right angle. It doesn't show that it's a right angle, but it is. I don't know why they didn't put a right angle there. So let's look at the circle first. My diameter is 8, but we need the radius. The diameter equals 8. The radius is 4. That is what is important to us, and that's what we need. 4 for the radius. So we're going to do 1/2 times pi times the radius squared, which is going to be 4 squared. And this is not going to be in terms of pi. I think these want it in, well, let me just look it up. All right, and then my parallelogram is going to be base times height. So 26 times 5. All right. So 4 squared times 0.5 is going to give us 8 pi, which is great. Like, we've answered problems like this before. You type in 4 squared and you type in 1/2, which is 0.5. 4 squared times 0.5. And then 26 times 5 is going to be 130. Now we need to type this whole thing into the calculator. 8 times pi plus 130 equals 155.1. Here's the deal. Make sure you know where to find pi. So let me type that one more time, but to where you can see the calculator part down here. So 8 times, you don't even have to write times. You can just put it next to it. The blue button, and then this button that, like, it's the arrow. Pi plus 130. 155.1. Okay? I mean, it's really just two shapes and you're adding them together. If you can find the area of a parallelogram and the area of a semicircle separately, then you can add them together and get the right answer. All right? It's not like overly complicated. All right, here is the weird thing that we've got going on. So if I close this off, we then have a rectangle and we have a semicircle. But would it make sense to add them together? Like on this one, we added them because it was like off of that. How would I figure out this? So this is like the shaded, I guess I don't even want to put that, but this is the area that we need to find. So not including this. It's like you want to take this away. So instead we've got to subtract these. So you take your rectangle, you subtract your semicircle. Look at the difference. Why did we add this here? Because it's like a separate piece that we're adding on. Why are we subtracting this here? Because we're trying to take away this area that's semicircle because it's not a part of the shape. So the rectangle is 16 times 4. And then minus the semicircle. But what's the radius of the semicircle? That's a problem. Well, our diameter is 4. So that means the radius is going to be half of that. The radius equals 2 for this. And we found that because this is 4, this whole thing is 4 as well, but we need to cut it in half. So a semicircle, again, is 1/2 pi times the radius squared. 16 times 4 is 64 minus, and then I can go ahead and do, 0.5 times 2 squared and get 2. So I'm just putting my numbers in right now because I don't want to really deal with decimals until the very end. So I typed my numbers in to, condense it down a little bit. And then I'm going to do 64 minus 2 pi. I don't need parentheses because you multiply before you subtract on PEMDAS. And I get 57.7 for my answer. All right. Almost done. Okay, there's two ways to solve this problem right here. One way, you can just treat it like a trapezoid. And I'll show you, you'll get the same answer. There's two ways to solve this problem. So the trapezoid formula is 1/2 the bases, which the bases are going to be 10 and 17 because they're parallel to each other. And then 13 is going to be the height. So it's 1/2, and then I'm just pulling this formula from over here. You have it in your notes, but it's this thing. So it's 1/2 height times B1 plus B2. That's what the area equals. So 13 is the height. 10 plus 17 is that. And I can figure out, okay, 17 plus 10 is 27 times 13 times 0.5. And I get the area equals 175.5. 17 plus 10 times 13. The other thing that I could do, if I hate trapezoid formula, and I'm like, I don't want to do that, you don't necessarily have to. You could do rectangle minus triangle. That's another thing you could do, where you could do the rectangle, which is base times height, triangle, 1/2 base times height, and figure out, okay, my rectangle is 13 times 17. Or 221. My triangle, we've got to figure out the length of this piece. Well, if this whole side is 17 and this is 10, this is going to be 17 minus 10, or 7. So 1/2 13 times 7. So I can do 0.5 times 13 times 7 and get 45.5. And then subtract them. 221 minus 45.5. And oh my goodness, I'm getting the same answer because it is the same. It's just two different ways to solve that problem. So if you're like, I don't understand it how you did it the first time, then do it the second way. If you don't understand it how to do the second way, do it the first way. It's the same problem. And then, honestly, my suggestion for this one is to just add the two triangles together. I think it's like the easiest. Triangle plus triangle. You could also take the trapezoid and subtract the rectangle. That would be the same. So we're going to do 1/2 base times height, 1/2 base times height, and just, you're basically doing two triangles and adding them together. But this one over here is 6.4 times 9.1. Because this is the base, this is the height. There's no like subtracting or anything crazy in this one, which is nice. This triangle over here, so this is this triangle. This is this triangle. 9.6, well, 1/2 times 9.6 times, this is also 9.1 because this is a rectangle. The height is 9.1 for both of them. And you can just type them into the calculator. 0.5 times 6.4 times 9.1 equals 29.12. I mean, I honestly think the thing that takes the longest out of this is just typing into the calculator. And then do you guys know the trick where to just go grab these? So you can click, go highlight 43.68 and press enter, and then click plus, highlight the 29.12. Well, I highlighted the wrong thing. So don't do that. I probably should look at my calculator while I'm doing that. 29.12. And then you get your answer, 72.8. Okay. And that is all.